Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Nadex Morning Analysis. It is March 9th. My name is Todd Rich. I am with Nadex, and from Keep Trading Simple is Brian Caprice. We are going to talk about a couple of hot spots in the markets that you might want to be looking at today, as well as what to be looking at later today and maybe even this evening, as there is some potential news that's coming out. But before Brian and I jump into it, I do need to take care of a housekeeping item, and I need to share this disclaimer that trading involves risk and may not be appropriate for everyone, that any trading decisions you make are solely your responsibility and at your own risk. And this is an educational session. Excuse me. Please do not construe anything Brian or I say as a buy or sell recommendation. We are doing this for your education purposes. So today, I think we've got two stories that we want to talk about. One is going to be NASDAQ. The other is going to be gold. And then we're going to talk about what to be looking at later in the day or this evening, maybe tonight, for some potential market-moving news. So before I kick it over to Brian, I mean, what we saw yesterday, and we talked a little bit about it, with the indices, we are seeing some interesting action in the equity indices. We're seeing what's called a sector rotation. We were calling it out yesterday that the NASDAQ definitely was weak yesterday. And I think you're seeing people starting to look for maybe taking a little bit of risk off, in as much as they want to take some of the money they might have had in some of the high flyer, high technology stocks that have very large PE ratios. They're looking for massive growth, but they still want to stay in the markets, and they move them over to Dow stocks, where they're much more old school. They're what used to be referred to as the blue chips, very low PE, not these high growth opportunities, but they won't be as volatile, or at least they are hoping they won't be as volatile. So we saw a shift in what equities people are looking to hold. We're actually seeing NASDAQ actually make up a little bit of that ground today, but it's probably a motif that we might see on occasion as people move their equity capital around to different stocks, and you see different movement in different indices. So Brian, you want to give us a little rundown on NASDAQ yesterday and what we could be looking at for today?
Yeah, so I mean, I've put a little, hopefully you guys can see it on my screen. It looks like you can, but I put a little yellow circle to kind of point off where we were yesterday. And the one thing we mentioned is, obviously over the weekend, the Senate passed their version of the stimulus bill. And the big question was, is it going to be enough? Are people going to be happy? Are they going to be unhappy? How does it rotate through? And again, a lot less people are going to be getting checks than they originally thought. Now, it's not officially passed. It's supposed to be passed later today or early tomorrow morning is what Nancy Pelosi said that she was going to do. But as you can see, the initial reaction, and again, I'll make it a little wider for you guys. If you guys can see the cursor right here, and you can't see the cursor, but you can see the crosshairs moving. But there was a lot of indecision at the open. Nobody knew what, is it going to be good? Is it going to be bad? And then it kind of waned very, very fast, and it went right back into a technical-based trading. Now, we saw price jump up into that level we had talked about. It's where the gap initiated on Sunday night. And 12,710 was the ideal entry. I think it went up to 12,717, so just about 7 points higher. And then we had to push all the way back down. We mentioned profit targets around that 12,500 being a psychological level. As you can see, it came down, it bounced, it came up, it based right before collapsing, coming back up, touching it, driving all the way down, and now we're back to that same level. So really, from where we were yesterday, I think we're, about 10, 15 points from where we were yesterday morning. You can say what has changed, and the answer is not very much. Now, a lot of the emotion and responses from the bill passing are in and adjusted now. Now it's kind of going back into, all right, well, what's going to happen? Is it in? Is it going to be changed again? When's it going to get signed? And remember that Americans are set to lose unemployment benefits March 14th if nothing gets done. So we're, again, literally right up to the wall with the passing. I mean, as soon as it gets passed, Biden will sign it by the end of the week. He's not going to not sign it at this point. But I think that these are both important levels to kind of keep an eye on. And again, I'll zoom out so you can kind of get it. You can see this is not a new channel that was formed. I mean, this is really talking back into the beginning. Really, this is March 4th where it established. And again, with strong sellers up top and strong buyers down below, and now we're again getting lower highs and higher lows.
Yep.
So it's a bit of a consolidation area. So I would say, most likely, and I would expect it. I mean, that's why I had, Forex Factor here. There is no economic news today. Even dropping it to, a low impact. You can see the only thing we have for the dollar up here is the NFIB Small Business Index, which, again, not considered a major market mover. So with that said, I mean, really, this is just, can we continue, doing what we're doing? Apple and Tesla got hammered yesterday. They're gapping a little bit higher, so I would expect price to rally up. But any type of stalling or stabilization around 12,710 or 12,811, I think this kind of comes and rolls back over because, again, initial response to this past stimulus was a down day.
Yep.
As we get farther into the day, if we can close in one of those two areas, it may be very, very similar tomorrow. Going into tomorrow morning when they do pass this, then when it's official that a lot less people are getting it, again, it may roll out of here and go back over into the Dow, which again kind of makes sense.
Yep.
Again, when you're not sure what's going to happen in the market, blue chips tend to be, I mean, that's why they're called blue chips. People, consumer staples, things that people need at all times.
So I wanted to take a look just quickly. And here it is on the Nadex platform. It is a little bit range bound as of late. So, again, not a lot going on in the markets, barring some type of news or impetus or something. Probably expect that this could be potentially range bound for a little bit until something changes. So this, I'm going to call it roughly 1710 up above, 12,710 up above, and 12,310 down below, places where you might see reversals. I mean, we're kind of stuck in no man's land right now, but as we, if we drift a little higher, there might be an opportunity again to play that rollover today. Binary options, one way to do that in a very defined risk reward way. I mean, it is moving through multiple strikes. So, as it goes through these strikes, these probabilities will change. So if you see it rolling over or reversing from either direction, you might see buyers come in down around this 12,310-ish level. Might see sellers come in at this 12,710 level up above, barring something happening, or it's probably, we're looking at in all likelihood, a bit of a quiet day. Now, let's go ahead and take a look at one other market. We mentioned gold. Brian, you want to give us a little look at what we might, what we're seeing going on in gold?
Yeah. So, a lot of the indices kind of had a little bit of a rough time. Things pushed down. Yesterday, again, yellow circles where we were yesterday. And you can see we kind of stabilized. And we talked about kind of this pushing lower, that downside profit targets were going to be down here at 1681. And as you can see, we came through, we broke below it and almost got to the bounce point that we talked about. We mentioned that 1675 would have been the bounce point. It came to 1676. So somebody was listening to our presentation, obviously. And
Clearly.
It did give us the confirmation bounce. But as you can see, it stabilized and really kind of found buyers down here at that 1681 level. And again, that's why we want to make sure our profit targets are set right before areas where buyers and sellers are kind of competing again. And all it did was really go straight up, right? Now what we're looking at is, again, we had a very, very small level here. It already bounced early this morning from 6 back down again, and it was a decent $10 drop in gold. But it wasn't really necessarily a true established level. It was a level where sellers had come in here around the 1715. It's where the really big push came down. So, I mean, this is really technically, I mean, if we want to do the number of hits, I can do it over here again. Where is it? There. You can see that, we had one hit here, we had one hit here, we had one hit here, and this is what? Magic number 14. So we would expect this level to break and go higher. Again, there's probably a little bit of sellers sitting just a bit higher at 617.18. But I would say the level that I'm looking for today for a potential reversal in gold would be 1725. If you look on a 30-minute chart, you can see that we had a level of basing, a kind of push down, a base and a pullback, and then a very, very strong push off, and then one test that got kind of front run up here. So it's a cleaner level. I think that would be a better place for a reversal up higher. And again, could we spend the rest of the day rallying up to kind of just roll over? Yeah, sure, we absolutely could. But we'll see. We'll see how it goes once the open occurs this morning.
Excellent. And over on the Nadex platform, taking a look at the gold, we did finally we caught a bottom. If I back this, actually, I wanted to let's see. I've got to do it this way so you can see it.
The gold, is that like the Facebook?
The gold.
Going
The
to
gold caught the bottom. So we did catch a little bit of a bottom here, and we've seen this do this several times. You know, it sells off, it comes back to that level, sells off, it comes back. It's still, you know, in a downward trend. But if we're looking for a reversal here now, let's put this back to where I had it so you can actually see what's going on in the last couple days. There we go. We are seeing gold trending a little higher. Right, Brian mentioned a level right around here where you might have expected to see some sellers come in, but again, not a strong level. Gold gets up to the 1720-ish range, maybe just a touch higher, but 1725. We would probably expect to see, or potentially expect to see, sellers come back in. So look for a potential rollover if it gets a little higher. Something to look at least gold is doing something other than go straight down.
Yeah, it also coincides with the dollar index hitting a level of buyers as well. So
the
push is a little bit higher in gold. Yeah, push a little higher in gold, brings the dollar down, hits a level, and they reverse.
And then they reverse. Perfect. All right, so those are a couple of things to look at today. NASDAQ and gold. Brian and I are going to be doing a full-blown session. When is that? In 3 hours? 3 hours. If you haven't registered, go to nadex.com. You can look in the learning section, webinars. You could sign up for that webinar. It'll be a full-blown session, an analysis of everything, looking out for the week. So please join us then. Brian, if you want, just to wrap it up for today, I think, because it is a kind of a quiet day, what might we expect, or what are we looking for in regards to the stimulus package, and what's out on the news horizon?
Right now, I mean, we don't know the exact time that the vote is going in. Everything that we've seen so far, and again, as I mentioned, you know, House Speaker Nancy Pelosi mentioned, she told reporters that they're waiting for the legislation to be, I guess, brought over from the Senate. It needs to be transmitted. I mean, typically when I send an email, it's instantaneous, but I guess it takes longer, you know, at the levels of government. But
they said the Pony Express.
Yeah, the Pony Express. Yeah. They're just waiting for it to get over there, and then the vote is supposed to be late today, like evening today, or first thing tomorrow morning. So it's most likely going to be something that we're dealing with and tackling tomorrow morning. And again, that takes us back into, you know, that CPI. So if they don't get it passed tonight, tomorrow is going to be crazy with CPI, bank rates, and stimulus all hitting all at the same time. So because I doubt they're working before 8:30 in the morning.
So there is some potential news hanging out there. Just kind of waiting for it to all work its way through the system, and that news could potentially have an impact on the markets. Again, remember to join us later this morning in a few hours. I also want to tease up, if you haven't registered for it yet, next Tuesday, a full-blown education summit, how to be a day trader at Nadex. So you can go over to nadex.com. You could register for that. If you got any questions for Nadex, please feel free to email us at customerservice@nadex.com. Got any questions for Brian? You can reach him at support@keeptradingsimple.com. He is very accessible. I know he likes to interact with you. You can reach him via email. With that, you know, again, probably a bit of a quiet day. We talked about the NASDAQ with some potential retraces up above at 12,710, down below, maybe a bounce at 12,310. We'll have to kind of see how the NASDAQ moves around once the retail customers get into the market in a half hour. And gold bouncing, and might see some sellers step in if it gets up to that 1720, 1725-ish range. And we do need to be paying attention to how that stimulus package finally works its way through Congress. With that, I want to wish everyone good luck in the markets. We will catch you either this afternoon or again tomorrow morning. Thanks, everyone.